Good morning from beautiful Brisbane, Australia. How are you this morning? Welcome to From Recovery to Remission, and it's wonderful to be here with you. My name's Linda. I'm your trauma recovery coach, and this morning I'm just wondering how you went with yesterday's video about the inner critic. Were you able to identify one of your inner critics, or if you had two, were you able to identify them? And have you been listening to see if they're stopping you from achieving all that you want throughout life? If you're here this morning for the first time, say g'day. Sorry, I'm just having a giggle at Rachel and Ali and all the girls because usually say good morning to each other. Yeah, long time no speak, Rach. Okay, so this morning I put together, well, not this morning, obviously last night, I put together our second part of the inner critic. Now, when the inner critic's happening, we want to be able to recognize it, but how do we recognize it? How do we recognize it that it's happening internally? We can actually recognize it by looking at the external things that are happening in our day-to-day life. So I made a list of some of the external things that we can identify and see that are happening in our day-to-day life. Now, just for you, Miss Ali. Good morning, Diana. Let's just grab this for you, just so that you can read it. Now, I called it blaming myself the doorways because when we can recognize any one of these, or, even have one of these help us recognize another habit in our life, it's a doorway that opens for us to combat the inner critic that happens, okay? Because the inner critic happens without us even being aware until we build the awareness. So we want to be able... If you're on a phone, Diana, there's no way you can read it. There's just no way. But, so I will just read it out to you. So one of the ways that we can recognize that the inner critic is happening and we don't know it's happening is that we over-apologize. So we're over-apologizing for our point of view, having an opinion, that we didn't understand someone correctly. And what we need to be able to do, say we're adults now, okay, the inner critic's happening, I can go back and get hold of what the thoughts were that were making me believe that I had to apologise profusely. And one of the things that we can do is affirm to ourselves, so use these affirmations. Good morning, Lisa. I am safe to be seen and heard. And we need to be able to feel that. So affirmations aren't just about saying the words over and over again. They're being willing to feel that those words are our truth. All right, they are, something that we can embody and help us build up our courage. One of the things that can help us identify the inner critic is if we're remaining in toxic relationships beyond the past due date. I mean, let's face it, we've all done that. Hang on, you probably didn't see that hand. We've all done that. And that's because our inner critic, for me, it was especially the perfectionist that I had to get this right. Okay, if I don't get it right, then I'm a failure. That was basically the message for me. And yeah, that's not the truth. Okay, we've got to be willing to challenge these thoughts and say, well, yeah, that's not the truth. I'm not a failure because it takes two people in a relationship to make it succeed. And when you're doing everything you can and the other person's not doing anything, then there's not much you can do about that. That's the logic. The emotions, on the other hand, are a whole different kettle of fish. We have to be willing to say, I am safe to be on my own. All right. I watch people go from one relationship to another without taking breath. And it is not good for us with complex PTSD to do that because our whole internal nervous system never gets a chance to regulate to who we are. It'll continue to try and regulate to other people. And that's just not healthy, because that's what the abuse taught us, is to regulate to other people, and it keeps our actions happening the same way and our behaviour happening the same way. And trust me, we don't want to go down those hurtful roads more than once, if we can avoid it. Okay, we never say no. If we never say no, there's definitely an inner critic happening. Look at what you really, really listen to, why you believe you can't say no. We need to say no for the sake of healthy boundaries, but we also need to learn that it's okay to say no. Otherwise, we'll have people continually taking advantage of us. All right. This is building up our real heart strength. So this isn't about the logic. This is really building up from our heart that it's okay for me to say no. And not only will there be somebody else who can fill my spot, the universe hates a void, okay? And I'm not talking about religion or anything like that. The universe hates a void. And if you don't believe me, try it out. The minute I began saying no to toxic family, other people stepped into my spot and took up the role of, doing everything that they would prefer I did. And yeah, it works, okay? It just happens. And even when we believe that there is no one else who will do what we've done, there will be somebody that comes along. Trust me. Okay? So learn to say I am safe to say no, but feel that feeling of safety, because learning to trust ourselves, all right, with the decisions we make is something that we do teach ourselves and take on board and learn it. I am safe to say no. I will live through the experience. And that's important too, especially if we have a destroyer inner critic, where we learn at a young age that our life isn't valuable. We've got a lot of work to do around that area, that our life is actually valuable and precious. And so and this is not just with the never saying no, this can actually be applied to a number of issues or areas in our life, really, is that learning that I am safe and that I will live through the experience. Look, honestly, I'm trying to think how many times, even doing new things. So for me, remember when I shared about the experience of going to the new gym, that can be part of I am safe and I will live through the experience. Even if I have an anxiety attack, I'm still going to live through the experience. And that way we're reframing the thoughts and taking back our courage and strength that's there, just waiting for us to grab hold of it, okay? Interpersonal boundaries are not enforced, all right? So if you've got somebody, now, boundaries aren't about keeping people out. Boundaries about, if you take one step from boundaries, use this: respect, all right? So whether it's parent and child, whether it's adult to adult, or any scenario, respect must come first in a relationship. Love is built on respect first and foremost. If there's no respect, then you can't have love, all right? Because love involves respect. So we have to be willing to teach other people how they can and can't treat us, all right? And that does take time, but it is worth it. People will say to me, "You're so strong." And I say, yeah, but it's because I was willing to go the yards and learn how to say, no, I don't want to be treated that way anymore. All right? And, let me just say, there's been a couple of men who got a shock because I said, right, if you do that, we can be friends, but there'll never be a relationship. And people get a shock when you say that. And I'm like, well, people, you've shown me who you are and what you like. Why would I go back for more? No. Linda says no. You just don't do it. And we ask ourselves how important actually, there's a couple of things. we can say to ourselves, how important is it for me to be in a relationship? Or is it better to wait for one of the other 4 billion men in the world who would treat me a lot better and value me? But that only happens if I value myself and go, well, no, I'm not going to be treated like that. All right? So that's the kind of boundaries that we talk about. That's good, Diane. I've got... Oh, so I can show you guys. Yes, Diana says, Linda, that is hilarious. That's good. It's meant to be. And it is. Like, you think about it. How many people expect us to keep allowing them to treat us the way they do? But then when we stand up and say, well, no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to take that treatment anymore, they go, oh, what's your problem? Nothing, actually. I just don't want to be treated with such disrespect anymore. And it's up to me to, open that doorway for myself and say no. And you know what? The more I've done this in my day-to-day life, the more that not only does respect for myself develop, I'm really starting to notice that other people around me have a real respect for me. And you know what? That's priceless. Absolutely priceless. Sorry. Rachel just says, Linda says no. That should be your catchphrase. Okay. No. I think my son Josh would agree with that. Okay. Now, this is an important one. All jokes aside, not recognising safe and unsafe people. So just from what we've just spoken about, one way to recognise an unsafe person is somebody who doesn't respect you. Okay? Now, from personal experience, it can be hard to recognise those people until we have respect for ourselves and what we do in life. And then it becomes really apparent those who are unsafe because they don't have respect. All right? It's not even that they don't have respect for us. You'll see that they don't have respect for other people around them. All right? So I am allowed to discern if I am safe with people. So I'm allowed to sit back and take my time and go, yeah, I'm not sure if I'm safe with that person. And look, they can be the most... The word that came to me was equanimous, and I'm thinking that's a big word that people just, no. They can be the most wonderful, kind, caring, loving individuals, but they still may not know how to respect you, all right? And I know somebody who's exactly like this, who is the most wonderful individual, works in their calling in life, they're brilliant at their job, but you know what? There is just no respect for my boundaries at all. And so I make sure that I'm building up the courage to say, well, that's the line in the sand. This won't be happening anymore. And we just have to be willing to keep taking it a step further and a step further, because it builds really good, healthy habits into us. Oh, sorry. I forgot the other affirmation. I am safe to ask for and give respect. Okay? It's a mutual thing. It's a two-way street. And if it's not a two-way street, then those people aren't safe for us either. Another way we can see that the inner critic is at play is if we are not trusting ourselves. And I tell you what, the inner critic can be really, really subtle. Yesterday I went to gym and I did 20 minutes on the bike, and I had this most amazing experience where my heart rate went up and up and up. And for those of us with complex PTSD, when that's happening, it's a good thing because it means we're getting rid of layers, right? We're getting more oxygen into our body. Our heart's able to start beating hard. Actually, I want to show you something while we're talking about that, because I did a course yesterday on the vagus nerve. Now, I don't know, Diana, can you see that pretty well? I'm not sure. Just cover me up for a minute. But see this system here? This is our nervous system. Goes right down into our stomach and all the way up, and it actually goes across our face as well. and it's a really, really plays a crucial role in helping us to heal as well. Now, it's not just the nerve. Actually, I don't think I took the other picture. It's hooked into, actually I'll find the other picture for you. But that nervous system is hooked into all of our organs as well. All right? So if we've spent years shallow breathing, how much oxygen is getting into all our organs? So that's one way we look at it. And then we go, right, well, I need more oxygen in there. So when I'm getting more oxygen in, it means I'm getting rid of layers of toxicity from within me as well. So when my heart rate went up and I'd done 20 minutes and everything, I was like, yeah, this is good. And I came home and did trauma-informed movement, which I did 15 minutes of, and my computer was kept logging out for some reason. And I went, I've done really good today because I'm really perspiring. Because when I first went to gym, I didn't perspire at all because my whole nervous system was so tight that nothing was getting out because I didn't want anything to get in either. All right, so part of recovery is letting the world back into our world bit by bit. So I went to the fridge because, of course, I'm like, it may not have been the length of time I wanted, but I had done time and I knew that it had been effective. And I'm at the fridge getting some water and I hear this, inner critic start. And I went, no, I am not going to beat myself up because I didn't do the amount of time I would have liked to have done. This stops, all right? I'm doing well. So that's what, and sometimes we just have to be willing to give ourselves the hard yard, draw the line in the sand and say, as we said, Linda says, no, this is just not happening anymore. I'm doing really well. And it makes us feel better when we pull the inner critic up and say, yeah, no, we're not going down those roads anymore. So we want to be able to trust ourselves and learn that we can trust ourselves. I am safe to trust my decision-making abilities. Now, what can happen is with the perfectionist inner critic, you go, yeah, but. No, yeah, buts. Okay, yeah, but what if it's the wrong decision? Okay, it's the wrong decision. Life's messy. Okay? I know how to apologise from my heart. I know how to correct a mistake. I know how to learn from a mistake. And I know how to be kind and caring and compassionate and grow from the experience. So I'm just going to make a decision and see where it leads. And you know what? Some of our greatest challenges are the biggest and deepest understandings that we get, and we get to help other people as well through it all. And so I am safe to trust my decision-making abilities. The end of my second marriage definitely ripped that out of me. It was like, my goodness, what is wrong with me? How on earth did I not see the type of person I married? And that has been a whole learning curve. But then I also had to understand that I'm safe to trust my decision-making abilities, provided I go and learn as much information beforehand before I make decisions. Okay, so we're just not going to make a decision willy-nilly. We're going to be informed before we make the decision. And consequently, I've spent quite a number of years learning not just about men, but about relationships, etc., etc. And so if ever I went into a situation again, I would be making a very well-informed decision. But oftentimes we can just be happy as well. All right, happy where we are, and that spills over from our hearts into the lives of other people. Okay, so I hope that's helped this morning. If you don't quite feel that the affirmations suit for now, make one that suits you where you're at. And one of the main affirmations we can always use is I am willing. All right. It's been one of the things that have kept me going. Like some years ago now, I went to a counsellor and I said, this is really tough stuff, read my father, etc., etc. And she said, you don't have to forgive them at this point in time. Just say, I am willing. And I had to keep repeating it over and over. And eventually one day it just happened. I am willing. Because I didn't want to go down the same thought processes all the time. So whatever's happening in your day-to-day life, just say, I am willing. And that will make the biggest difference in your life. Now, just as an aside from all the learning this morning, I hope what I'm about to share with you also fills your heart up. I was doing some reading this morning, and I've been thinking about how God gives us a new heart, all right? And this morning I read, this is from Psalm 95:2. Let us come before him with thanksgiving and extol him with music and song. And we always know we're always connected. But then in Zephaniah 3:17, because, we've always referenced Zephaniah, which, I'm being a bit cheeky. We never do. The Lord your God is with you. He is mighty to save. He will take great delight in you. He will quiet you with his love. He will rejoice over you with singing. Now, I want you to think about this. If he's rejoicing over you with singing, are you sitting down in your new heart, hand over heart, and going, I want to feel how he's rejoicing over me? We're singing. Have a gorgeous day. Have a great sleep, girls. Thanks for joining in, and I will see you again tomorrow morning, same bat time, same bat channel, and I love you all dearly. Bye for now.